Hello everyone, welcome to Tejal Khandelwal Study Center. We've already finished all the subtopics of the Western political thought. Today we will begin with ideologies, and today's topic is nature of ideology. So let's start revising together the nature of ideology. What is ideology? Ideology can be said as a set of mutually consistent principles. And what do these principles tell us? They give us a lens to understand the world around us. They give us a worldview. So we can say it is a set of belief or it is a set of opinions which enables us to understand the political, social, economic systems around us. So ideology means the study of ideas, right? It is the study of ideas. However, in the realm of political theory, the word ideology is used in two contexts. It can be used in the context of a set of ideas. When it is termed as a set of ideas, which means it is characterized by a closed mind. It gives a more narrow view of things. Why? Because it claims monopoly over truth. However, when we say ideology refers to a science of ideas, we are this as a science of ideas, it is characterized by an open mind, which means here we see how ideas are formed, how knowledge is being acquired, and it is more broader way of looking at things. So in the first context, as a set of ideas, it becomes or comes in the realm of politics. It can also lead to distortion of truth. On the other hand, as a science of ideas, it is not so. Okay? So yes, it becomes in the second context the aspect of political theory. And a set of ideas, it becomes part of politics. Okay? So we can say that ideology refers to comprehensive. And why comprehensive? Because it gives an understanding of all dimensions of our life, of this worldly, of otherworldly, of economic aspects, of political aspects, also religious sphere and relation with the God. That's why we say it is comprehensive in nature. And obviously, every aspect is interlinked with the other. So it is always a mutually consistent set of principles that we are talking. And why these principles are arrived at? These principles are arrived at so that we can have a framework of thought or ideas to understand the world around us. So we can look at the world from a liberal perspective or liberal framework of thought, from a communitarian perspective, from a Marxist perspective, from multicultural perspective, from fascist perspective, from feminist perspective, from the postmodernist perspective as well. So in this way, different perspectives offer different explanation of the reality of the world. Okay, so they are trying to give us a system of thought and explain the world in that particular way. Is this understood? That is the nature of political ideology. So, does it only explain the world? No. It also gives us a program of action, which means how to establish liberal world guided by liberal values, how to establish a Marxist or socialist kind of world. What should be the end of it? It should be establishing like a communist society. Okay, so they also give us a program of action on how these values can come into reality, how they can be implemented in the political sphere, in the economic sphere, in the value sphere, in the cultural sphere. Okay, so that's why we say, apart from giving us a lens to the world, ideology is always guided by a program of action. So yes, it is referring to beliefs, opinions, set of principles explaining the world, as well as giving us a program of action. Okay. Now let's see where this term originated. So it was used by D. Stott de Tracy, a French scholar who called it as science of ideas, which means how ideas are formed, how knowledge is acquired, how they are implemented. All right. And in the realm of political theory or in the realm of politics, we can say ideology can be used in two ways: as a set of ideas which is characterized by closed mind, and science of ideas which is characterized by an open mind. As a set of ideas, there is some set of rigidity that will come, and there can also be claim to monopoly of truth. But when we look at it in the sphere of science of ideas, we are open minded, we are allowing it to be refined, to be reworked, okay, and there is continuous evaluation of to what extent this idea is feasible and viable to be implemented in reality. So we see how liberalism has always transformed itself, okay, means the idea of liberalism in its classical sense is differing then during the time of transition and challenge it comes from socialism to how it transforms in modern liberalism and how it is in the contemporary context or in the 21st century. So ideas also always transform. Understood? Fine. So that is when we call it as the science of ideas, all right, which means how it acquires. And it also always allows an individual to question authority, all right. So it is more open to critical investigation when we look at it as a science of ideas. On the other hand, as a set of ideas, it is not looked at that. Now tell me one thing, what will a person who believes in the liberal ideology look at liberalism as? They will say liberalism is a science of ideas. But on the other hand, a Marxist will say, no, liberalism is a set of ideas. So eventually, whichever school of thought you belong to, you consider that ideology as a science of idea. On the other hand, those who are examining that idea or opposing that idea will say that the other ideology is a set of ideas. Is this understood? तो हर फॉलोअर ऑफ द आइडियोलॉजी को लगता है हमारी स्कूल ऑफ थॉट इज वेरी ओपन माइंडेड, बट ऑन द अदर हैंड those who criticize it will say otherwise. That's why the concept of set of ideas and science of ideas. Okay. Now, so how it influences politics? It influences politics because it provides us a lens to understand the world. It sets goals and inspires action, which means people will come together. There will be some cohesion. People of same mind, shared ideas, shared views, right? They will come together and look at the world and do things in similar manner. Shape the nature of the political system. So whether it will be based on religious belief, so religious ideologies are also there. Whether it will be based on liberal beliefs or democratic systems, whether it will be based on an authoritarian. So even the political nature of the political system will be always based upon some ideology, which means some dominant ideology, and other ideologies will also, other ideas will also be there, but maybe they may not be predominant. For example, in the Western world, liberalism is a dominant ideology. But when we look at the West Asian states, in West Asia, Middle East, we see that there is more religious domination. The idea of religion is more dominant and shaping the nature of the political system. So they are either theocratic states, or either they are kingdoms, or they are monarchies in that sense. Okay. So there is always what? The shaping of ideologies shape the nature of the political system. And yes, it acts like a social cement because it binds people of a particular ideology together. Now, different perspectives look at ideology as a concept also in different ways. So let's see what will liberals call ideology as? So liberals will say ideology is something which is claiming monopoly of truth, and it is inherently repressive and totalitarian. Why do they term ideology as repressive and totalitarian? Because according to the liberals, liberalism itself is open ended, which means it is always open to critical investigation. Okay. And the liberal society is like an open society, which means it is always open to falsification. It will not claim that what we are saying is final. Liberalism has the value of toleration within it. So they say that any other ideology is an ideology which claims monopoly of truth, which liberal ideology isn't. Okay, that's why they will say it is repressive too. So they will criticize whom? They will criticize the fascist, they will criticize the Marxist school of thought, okay, and say that these ideologies are claiming monopoly of truth and this is how the world is. But liberalism is open minded. Now what will the conservatives say? The conservatives say that all this concept of ideology is abstracted from reality, which means it is not rooted in tradition that has been going on for years. It is not rooted in authority. So, ideology is something which is like an intellectual pastime. Okay. So, it is dangerous and unreliable. Society should believe in continuity. And continuity is believing in the existing order, the existing hierarchy, and the existing authority that has been continuing for years together. तो आइडियोलॉजी जिसने इन्वेंट किया है या जिसने बोला है, for them it is not rooted in reality. So that will be the conservative perspective. Why? Because conservative are status quoist, they don't want change. तो आज तक जो आइडियोलॉजीज चल रही हैं, जो ऑर्डर के बेसिस पे, सोशल ऑर्गेनिक यूनिटी के बेसिस पे, हियरार्की के बेसिस पे चल रही है, वो ही वे में सोसाइटी को चलना चाहिए. नो नीड टू ब्रिंग न्यू सिस्टम्स ऑफ थॉट. Okay, that's why the conservatives will criticize. Now, socialists say that what does ideology lead to? Ideology conceals the contradictions of class society, which means इनका संदर्भ क्या है? They are criticizing liberalism. Why they are criticizing liberalism? Because liberalism appears very democratic, very much based on rule of law. It is very open to, protection of the natural rights, human rights of individual. But liberalism supports in its economic species capitalism. तो capitalism gets support from liberal values. क्यों? Capitalism कब thrive करता है? कोई भी सोसाइटी में कैपिटलिज्म तब होगा जब वहां पे पॉलिटिकल स्टेबिलिटी होगी. पॉलिटिकल स्टेबिलिटी कैसे होती है? पॉलिटिकल स्टेबिलिटी तब होती है जब वहां का पॉलिटिकल सिस्टम क्या है? इट इज फर्स्टली लिमिटेड गवर्नमेंट, देयर इज चेक्स एंड बैलेंसेस, ओके, एंड देयर इज सम लीगल ऑर्डर इन द फॉर्म ऑफ अ कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन, लॉज. तब वहां पे पॉलिटिकल स्टेबिलिटी होगी, और स्टेबिलिटी हुई तो बिजनेस विल थ्राइव, इंडस्ट्रीज विल थ्राइव. सो सोशलिस्ट से दैट दिस कैपिटलिज्म conceals the contradictions of the class. So that's why they will criticize liberal values, okay? And it promotes false consciousness, which means what is false consciousness? False understanding of oneself. मतलब इंडिविजुअल को जो दृश्य अपने बारे में दिखाया जाता है वो झूठा है. Why it is false consciousness? Why? Because your consciousness, according to socialist, is always shaped by your material reality, which means if somebody is poor, somebody doesn't have food, somebody doesn't have basic needs of life, so those material conditions shape your consciousness, and that's how you understand the world, right? But capitalism and liberalism does the opposite. So whatever understanding they are making of the individual, it is false consciousness, okay? Now, so we have to promote, according to socialists, true consciousness, true understanding of the self. All right, which means if liberalism on some basis is justifying that, because of your characteristics, because of your actions, that you are in this situation, right? Then this is false. You are in this situation because the capitalist is exploiting you, which you need to understand. So that will be true consciousness. Okay? Now, what about the later Marxists? Later Marxists have made it more like a neutral concept. So they are saying everybody has an ideology, which means even the bourgeois have the ideology, and that's why even proletariat, to counter this bourgeois domination through the mechanism of ideology, proletariat should develop their own ideology. They should develop their own class consciousness and then challenge the bourgeois ideology. Okay, so later Marxists say it is more of a neutral concept. Lenin and Lukács say this. In fact, what does Gramsci say? Gramsci say hegemony or cultural domination that is happening is actually ideological domination. It is through ideas that hegemony is being built in the cultural sphere, and civil society is being the structure where all ideas are being shaped, and intellectuals are appointed to shape the mind of the people. So we say that the later Marxists say that it is a neutral concept. What about the fascist? See, fascists do not believe in the concept of reason. They believe in the concept of emotion. They believe in passion. They believe in will. So fascist will say, ये इतना systematic thought process जिसने भी बनाया है ideology का, ये बहुत problematic है. Too much systematization on basis of reasoning. It is just intellectual time, pastime, We should be guided. Human beings should be guided by spirit. Human being should be not guided by reason but passion, by will, respect for authority. No need to question authority. So fascist will also say, what about ideology? They will say that it is over systematic because it is based on reason and not passion and will. तो वो भी criticism करते हैं ideology का, ठीक है? Now ecologists say that all the ideologies that we see, उनका सबसे बड़ा basis, मतलब उनका core basis, not बड़ा, core basis क्या है? Core basis of ideology is to promote industrial growth. They call it as industrialism. ठीक है? So all conventional doctrines are part of superiority of industrialism. Everybody wants only economic growth and outlining all other aspects. ठीक है? Now, what about religious fundamentalists? How will they look at ideology? So they will appreciate. Why? Because their religious fundamentalist का law book क्या है? The books of religion, the teachings of religion. And what according to religious fundamentalism, teachings of religion do? Religion provides us a forward-looking path. It explains why we are in this world, what we should do, how we will, achieve moksha or liberation of our souls. So fundamentalists, say that ideology or religious beliefs provide program for comprehensive social reconstruction. So everybody views ideology as a concept which is in context of contravention of the ideas of their own ideology. तो मार्क्सिस्ट को लगेगा इट इज टू हाइड, आइडियोलॉजी इसलिए बनाई जाती है कि क्लास सिस्टम को हाइड करे. लिबरल्स को लगेगा ये एक ही क्लेमेंट ऑफ ट्रूथ, मोनोपोली ऑफ ट्रूथ करने के लिए, लेकिन आइडियोलॉजी तो वो होनी चाहिए जो साइंस ऑफ आइडियाज की तरह हो, ऑलवेज ओपन टू क्रिटिकल इन्वेस्टिगेशन, राइट? तो डिफरेंट स्कूल्स परसीव आइडियोलॉजी डिफरेंटली. In this sense, we have to understand it. Now, so there are two key ways when we talk about ideology here. Okay, so we'll start with this linear spectrum. What is the meaning of this linear spectrum? Okay, ये जो spectrum है, ये left to right जो हमने बनाया है, which aspect it is talking of? So see, there is a key debate which is called as the left-right divide. So how is the left and right divided? Where does this term originate? This originates from France, which means it is in how they would sit in the French, what do we say, sitting arrangement in their legislature or assembly, we call it. ठीक है. And because they used to sit opposite, left में and right में, they had different ideological positions. So the origin of the left-right divide comes from, or the context of this term comes from France. Now, what is this divide about? Actually, even though the divide is over human nature, over values, over what is the role of the state, but this divide has a very strong economic focus also. Okay, so what is at the leftist end? It is communism. And what is at the most rightist end is fascism. And what falls in the most moderate? So it is liberalism. So which means communism's idea of individual, of human nature, of values and state intervention is very much different than fascist ideas. Let's see how. So for example, the values that the leftist will uphold will be liberty, equality and fraternity. And the rightist, which means we say conservative or fascist, they will uphold the values of order, authority, ठीक है, and hierarchy. So when we see communism, they also talk of freedom. Liberals also talk of freedom, which means they specifically use the term liberty. Liberal also talk of equality, but in a different sense than whom? Than the communist. So principle also in terms of hierarchy. Matlab liberals give more emphasis on liberty than equality. And communism gives more emphasis on equality than what? Liberty. This ordering is there, but still they are not absolutely opposite on this spectrum. On the other hand, when we look at the fascist or the conservative, full values only change. यहाँ पे degrees है, यहाँ पे obviously they are also contrasting, but this divide on the other hand we'll see is very different. So for example, okay, so the rightists will talk about order, authority and hierarchy, completely different values. Now when we talk about human nature, okay, so we will see that closer to this leftist end, there is more emphasis about human being more optimistic, human being is ready for social change, human being is nice, okay. On the other hand, where we talk about fascism and conservatism, in fact, it is saying that human being is very pessimistic. Human being is not very open to change. They are very doubtful of change because both the orders, the fascist and the conservative order, do not uphold change. So, complete thought process divide is there. Okay. Now, when we talk of state intervention, okay, what will the leftists talk? So, they will say over, regulation and economic management, and इसमें highest degree है communism में, ठीक है. तो socialism is having little mixed approach. Liberals say minimal state, okay, and communism says no need of state at all, stateless society, ठीक है. On the other hand, जब हम right के spectrum पे जाएंगे, तो they will want state. They will want states authority as very, very vital. Okay, and so they want free market here. Okay, they want deregulated capitalism. All right. So state intervention also vary in both the sense. All right. So this is the linear spectrum when we are talking. It is about the left-right divide. है ना? Now, so liberalism is an ideology of middle class. Socialism is of the working class. Conservatism about the feudal class. ठीक है? And so this is left, and then we also have the far right also. All right. Sure. Now, when we talk about horseshoe spectrum questions this left-right divide. They say that in fact, if you see in communism and fascism, there is some closeness. ये divide ऐसा नहीं है, like completely on the other end. No, it will come like this. There is some sort of convergence we will see. So they'll say fascism and communism have some commonality. Why? They will be more totalitarian in its characteristic. They will want, what do we say? Repressive and authoritative in nature. The regimes in the fascism and communism. ठीक है? But when we see here, there will be not so much of difference. ठीक है? Obviously conservatism, socialism, but then still there is some commonality, and the left-right divide do not remain so key to explanation. Okay, so this is the linear spectrum and this is the horseshoe spectrum. Now, so when we talk about emergence of new ideologies, so there are classical or old ideologies, and then there are new ideologies. What are the classical ideologies and what are the new ideologies? So we can say liberalism, socialism, Marxism, conservatism. These are what? They are all classical and old ideologies. Okay. And what are new ideologies? Feminism, ecologism, religious fundamentalism. All these are new ideologies. So what distinguishes them from being classical to new? And why these new ideologies are emerging, which means, are the earlier ideologies not enough to explain the new characteristics of the society? There is a lot of change in society, so we cannot understand the society from the old framework, or these new ideologies are building on those old frameworks in a more contemporary light. Okay, so it is both sides of the debate. Now, so we see even multiculturalism is a new ideology. All right. So why these new ideologies emerge? Because there is post-industrial society, a new social movement. So what is industrial society? So the industrial revolution led to an industrial society, which means there is a divide between the propertied and non-propertied. Post-industrial societies have different characteristics, which means now only material factors of life are not the essential factors. There are other aspects of society also. Okay, which means we want quality of life. Okay, bread and butter is the not issue. It is issue, but it is not. We are moving towards more aspects of identity. So this is that, where in industrial societies there was very much solidarity between the classes because there was a divide. So proletarian is one and bourgeois is one. In the post-industrial society, solidarity has also reduced, which means you don't have so much caste solidarity today in a post-industrial society like it was there in the earlier time. Why? Because a person is more important by the virtue of their merit. Okay? So these things are there. So they are more affluent societies in that sense. And there is social movements which are questioning many issues. Okay, which means we also will see old social movements and new social movements on the changing light of issues in the society. Now, there is collapse of communism after disintegration of USSR. So it is hailed that liberalism as an ideology is going to serve as a dominating ideology, shaping all types of political system, which means even if it is a communist system like China, It has opened up itself to market reforms in 1978, and even it is like, a capitalist economic system or state capitalism, we say, that China has adopted. ठीक है? So it is collapse of communism, which also questioned the earlier divide between the two ideologies, right? Capitalism and communism in the Cold War. Now, next is rise of globalization and cosmos. So when there is more migration of people from one country to other, people migrate. Why? Because they get a better economic life. So now when they get a better economic life, what more do they want? So they want that even if I am going to US, I am migrating there for better economic opportunities, I should be treated, my identity, my culture should be protected. Okay, which means, we are all humans. You don't have to distinguish that one is an Indian and one is an American. So both will be treated differently. So migration brings in that cosmopolitan. We all are humans. We have to be respected for the value of human dignity. That is a cosmopolitan sense. You have to value me on my merit and not because of whether I'm Indian, whether I'm Hindu, whether I'm Muslim, whether I'm a high caste or low caste person, whether I'm a male or female. So these have brought new concerns in front in the issues. Okay? So that's why new ideologies emerged. Now, shifts was what? So there was simple modernity to reflective modernity. What is reflective modernity? Which means society is trying to make more sense. Society is looking at things in a more depth. We are questioning everything. Okay? That is what we mean when we say that, reflective. We are being more self-aware of whatever is happening. So that is simple to reflexive or reflective modernity. Okay? Economics towards culture, which means during the Industrial Revolution, obviously key issue in the society was what? Economics. Marx has pointed, and even though Gramsci later says culture is also important, we cannot ignore. But now culture has become very important area. So we see people are migrating, they want recognition. Like even imagine now Bangladesh crisis. Okay, so obviously economic issues, the job quota system was one aspect. But also what has been the clash now? So there is Hindu versus Muslim. So culture has also been intertwined with the economic aspect. So culture is never to be ignored in this changing society. We can't look at it as a factor which doesn't matter. Okay? And yes, universalism to particularism, which means now there is more aspect towards individual sense of identity, like that sense. So from universal idea, we are moving towards more particularistic sense. Okay? So some core values of humans which were universal earlier. Now there is feminism. Now there is ethnic nationalism. Okay, multiculturalism, which emphasizes on gender, locality, local things, indigenous culture. Okay, ethnicity, these aspects. So from universal values for human, we are moving towards also respecting differences. We can't be difference blind, because liberalism was something which was more difference blind. Okay, but particularity say we should, also take into consideration differences. So this is the reason why new ideologies have emerged. But we need to understand that this new ideology is not a complete shift. They are bringing in new content, they are bringing in new issues to the fore, but they are building on the older issues, which means the older issues are also continuing in a contemporary light, and there are also new concerns that are there. So it is not a complete shift, and we can't say there is only continuity. There is also some change. This is how you have to look at what? Old ideologies, classical ideologies, and new ideologies. Fine? Now, the next important aspect that you need to understand in the topic of ideology is the end of ideology debate. Now, what is this end of ideology debate? Which means ideology is no more important to understand the world. We are moving towards more material progress, technocratization, bureaucratization. Systematically, everybody, all the political systems are moving in one direction. So what is the ideology of your of your country, of your state? That doesn't matter. So whom do you think say end of ideology? So actually we say that end of ideology, those who support this debate are also propagating an ideology. So we say it is endism. मतलब वो भी किसी एक आइडियोलॉजी को ज्यादा इंपॉर्टेंस देना चाहते हैं ओवर द अदर ऑपोजिशंस, अदर आइडियोलॉजीज, इसीलिए वो कह रहे हैं आइडियोलॉजीज ओवर. In itself is an expression of ideology. So there are two sides when those who support this debate that yes, ideology is ended, and those who oppose, no, ideology is still relevant to understand world. ठीक है now. So this debate is reviewed in 1950s and 60s when World War has ended and there are new nation states that are being formed. So what is the basis on which these new nation states, decolonization that is happening, what should be the basis of formation of the state? ठीक है? So it is said it is a tool of totalitarianism. What is tool of totalitarianism? Ideology. So we don't need it. So it was brought in at the Future of Freedom Conference in Milan, Italy in 1955 by Edward Shills. And Shills says end of ideology. कोई सेंस नहीं आइडियोलॉजी का. ठीक है. Daniel Bell says today ideologies are existed. So which school of thought they must be coming from? They are coming from liberal perspective. क्यों? क्योंकि डीकोलोनाइजेशन हो गया. अब सारे सिस्टम वेस्टर्न स्टेट्स, नेशन स्टेट्स की तरह बने. वेस्टर्न पाथ फॉलो करो पॉलिटिकल सिस्टम बनाने के लिए. तो आइडियोलॉजी को, तुम्हारी पर्टिकुलरिस्टिक आइडेंटिटीज को इंपॉर्टेंस मत दो और पॉलिटिकल सिस्टम मेक देम लाइक डेमोक्रेटिक इकोनॉमिक सिस्टम्स that have been there in the West. So they say ideologies are existing. मतलब exhausted. So those who support that ideology has ended. खत्म हो गई. जरूरत ही नहीं है दुनिया को समझने के लिए. So it is Ralph Dahrendorf. In his work Class and Class Conflict in Industrial Society, he say post-capitalist societies, which means capitalism खत्म हो चुका है. ठीक है. इंडस्ट्रियल कॉन्फ्लिक्ट डू नॉट डोमिनेट होल सोसाइटी. तो इकोनॉमिक कॉन्फ्लिक्ट अलग है, पॉलिटिकल कॉन्फ्लिक्ट अलग है. और जैसे मार्क्स बोलता था कि इट इज इकोनॉमी विच शेप्स पॉलिटिक्स एंड अदर एस्पेक्ट्स, ऐसा नहीं है. इंडस्ट्री की कॉन्फ्लिक्ट्स और इकोनॉमिक कॉन्फ्लिक्ट्स इंडस्ट्री में रहती है. दे आर नॉट फॉर्मिंग सुपर स्ट्रक्चर. एंड सुपर स्ट्रक्चर, आई मीन पॉलिटिकल एस्पेक्ट इज डिफरेंट. तो देयर इज नो नीड टू से दैट आइडियोलॉजी इज इंपॉर्टेंट. पोस्ट कैपिटलिस्ट सोसाइटी, इंडस्ट्रियल कॉन्फ्लिक्ट डू नॉट डोमिनेट ऑल एस्पेक्ट्स ऑफ सोसाइटी. ठीक है. सो इंडस्ट्री एंड सोसाइटी हैव बीन डिसोसिएटेड और मार्क्स विल एब्सोल्युटली से नो. मार्क्स क्या बोलेगा? सब कुछ इंटरलिंक्ड है, तुम सेपरेट कर ही नहीं सकते. सो वी नो, राइट. सेकेंड इज रोस्टो, द स्टेजेस ऑफ इकोनॉमिक ग्रोथ, अ नॉन कम्युनिस्ट मैनिफेस्टो. सो ही सेज ऑल सोसाइटीज, all societies will pass through some stages of economic growth. Okay, so there will be one first stage, second stage, third stage, then there will be take off. And in all these stages, whatever is the nature of your ideology doesn't matter. So why are you giving importance to ideology? So Rostow says he built a multi-dimensional model of economic growth which can be applied to all systems. ठीक है. And all will pass through 5 stages of growth. So there is no need to focus too much on what? Ideology. Galbraith says that all industrialist societies are destined to greater centralization, bureaucratization, professionalization and technocratization. So who is the ruling class? The ruling class is not the industrial class, not the bourgeois class. The new dominating class are these bureaucrats, are these experts. So don't look at the bourgeois is the only one which is wrong. So ideology matter nahi karegi ab. Okay, so it can, domination can happen anywhere, hai na. And all bureaucratization is a more bigger challenge than becoming capitalist, anti-capitalist. This is more important. ठीक है. So power is there in these technocrats, in these bureaucrats, and not in the industrialist or the capitalist, as Marx has pointed. So Galbraith also say, हमें पावर कहाँ है लोकेटेड, अभी वहां देखना चाहिए, इकोनॉमिकली नहीं है, इंडस्ट्रियल क्लास में नहीं है, प्रॉपर्टीड क्लास में नहीं है, इट इज इन दी एक्सपर्ट्स, वहां पे पावर है तो तुम वहां पे फोकस कर. सो ऑल ऑफ देम सेज ideology has ended. Now those who support ideology will say other. So it is Richard Titmuss and others, they question the end of ideology thesis as it was taken up at the Future of Freedom conference, or Daniel Bell also pointed towards it. Okay. So Titmuss says it overlooks the problems within the capitalist system. So it is like a liberal Marxist debate, understand, underlying, है ना? C. Wright Mills says end of ideology thesis advocates of status quo. Macpherson says it is a futile attempt to solve the problem of market society. And McIntyre says it is a key expression of ideology. So end of ideology is also an expression of ideology. What is it called? Endism. Okay. Now, next key debate is end of history thesis. So what is this end of history? Which means we were understanding history which is passing through stages. Who says history is passing through certain stages? There is dialectics of ideas in history. Hegel. So Francis Fukuyama will question Hegel. ठीक है? And he'll say now end of history हो गया है. जो तुमने predict किया था, it is what Marx has predicted, उससे अलग हुआ है. Now communism has fallen. Who has won? Liberalism has won. Okay. So Fukuyama says human history is in a linear progression from one epoch to another. Okay. It is in an evolutionary process. है ना? Now, the liberal democracy is the final form of government for all nations. Better system than any of the alternative. What? Liberal democracy. He says Western liberalism had triumphed over all the rivals, whoever were the rival, fascism ho, या fascism तो fell very much early, or communism after disintegration of USSR. So this debate is after 1990s. Okay. Now, and is the endpoint of man's ideology. मतलब अब liberalism is greatest. Nobody should question. We know liberalism has won. All other ways of looking at economic, society, politics is failed. Right? So he says history of ideas has ended and fundamental ideological debate has also ended. Okay? So he is contradicting Hegel in some sense. Now, next is clash of civilization thesis. So very good aspect of clash of civilization thesis is when culture is the source of conflict. Like initially societies में conflict हो रही थी between rulers, between nations also, we see world wars, between individuals also, right? तो there is monarchs, nations, ideology, सब लड़ रहे थे. लेकिन Samuel Huntington says the coming future conflicts are not going to be economic or political in nature. It will be on the cultural lines. For example, the attack on US, okay, 9/11 is a cultural conflict between Christianity and Islam. So one example. Now if we look at Bangladesh crisis from this perspective, we see that it was a conflict that was there between the nationalists and the Islamists. And then it also took a turn where even the other minorities became part of the conflict in the society. So Huntington says clash of civilization and there will be remaking of the world order. He says that people's cultural and religious identities will be the source of conflict in the post-Cold War era. Okay. So wars are not between countries, so they are not economic or ideological, and they are based on culture. And what is the key aspect of cultural life? Caste is there, there is religion, there is ethnicity also. But most important for him, he is saying religious sphere. Okay. So he says the age of ideology have ended, cultural conflict will continue. Before Cold War, world history, there was struggle between monarch, nation and ideology. And in the post-Cold War, non-Western nations across actors to shape and move the world history. So they will challenge the existing system, which means who is running the existing systems? Who dominated? Whose hegemony? USA's hegemony. It will be questioned by the non-Western nation. And the ground is not on the basis of economics or politics. It is questioning the cultural aspect. So it will be like a Islamic tradition challenging Christianity. Okay. So he also talks about civilizations. He divides them into 8 parts, the world, and how conflicts are there across the boundaries of these civilizations. So we can look at every thesis, every event from the clash of civilization thesis. So you can look at the Hamas-Israel war also from the clash of civilization thesis. So Islam versus Jew. So the fight is so much ancient source between these two civilizations. है ना? So which means the whole Arab world should have moved in solidarity with the Palestinians, the cause of the Hamas, right? But we also see there are divides on the basis of national interest and other things. So yes, it can be challenged also, but we can see all the conflicts in this light. We can give any conflict the perspective of clash of civilization thesis. So what is the reason or justification that they will clash? So he says, Huntington says, the differences between civilizations are real and they are basic. They have been there across the centuries. It is not something which has been created. Obviously, there is a difference between language, there is difference between practices of different marriages, inheritance, ठीक है? कितनी सारी varying practices है. Then globalization, as interactions will increase, everybody will want to assert their identity. ठीक है? So isolation due to modernity will happen because modernity is associated with globalization. And then when there is isolation, person will look, when you're sitting alone, you will look at some sort of solidarity for any problem you face. Imagine you are in an office and you are belonging to a minority religion in any other country. And if you are treated badly by the majority of the people in the office, maybe it can be because of your work, but you will look for some solidarity of somebody who is of the same identity that you belong to support you. Okay, probably I am being treated because I am in minority here. It can be because of the nationality also. It can be also because of the religion. That is what is the perspective that will be coming in you. So then it will be very easy to brainwash you. You get it? So for example, a Hindu or a Muslim in a Christian nation treated badly in an office space. What will they think? So they will think that it is because of my religion or because of my nationality. तो modernity में भी solidarity के source के लिए लोग ढूंढते हैं हमेशा. They associate problems likewise. Now, shifts in politics, Western to non-Western world. The non-Western world is emerging. So they will no more be taking things as objects. They will become shapers. So Iranian revolution क्यों था? We don't want imposition of liberal values in our country. We have an inheritance of a very good values, cultural aspects of life, how we want to shape our society. Why should we make the American society's values ours? We also can shape. So that's why not merely objects but shapers. Then paradoxes of Western culture. ठीक है? Appealing the masses and preserving religious identity. Both will be there. Because there's a mixed set, है ना? Challenges from Islam and Confucianism will be there. And then we will see countries also, propagating these values, coming together. So objective is political or strategic in nature. Instrument is culture. Objective is what? Political and strategic in nature of China. What is the instrument they will use? They will use culture as the instrument. So conflict will be designed on the narrative of culture. You got it? So this is how things will happen. Now, so do we say ideology has relevance in the 21st century? Yes. We cannot look at the world without ideology. So ideology has relevance. It has a very resilient character. New ideologies are also built on the content of the old ideology with some changes. More particularism has come. But we cannot shape the world. We cannot have a vision of the world without ideology. So ideology remains relevant. Okay. I hope you understood the topic well and revised it also well. Thank you so much.